Welcome to Super Happy Dragon Lucky. The show will begin momentarily.
Hello, welcome to the show. This is Super Happy Dragonchain episode ADD 0xad. It's the 174th episode, and I'm going to try from this point on to use the standardized approach from Silicon Valley to the pronunciation of the episode number. So it is ADD. And a reminder, nothing on the show is financial advice. And stay tuned after all of the updates for an AMA. This week, first update, number go up. Crypto world failures that you all should have anticipated, right? These are all essentially junior bankers, and they're just as corrupt as the traditional banking system in some ways. It's not entirely corrupt, but there's a lot of corruption there. Why do you think that is? So, and if you look at this tweet from ACO 2718. So BlockFi, if this is correct, right? Not verified this, but if BlockFi is a creditor to FTX, which lent to Alameda, which then lent to Emergent, which is a shell company owned by SBF himself, that bought Robinhood shares that were then pledged as collateral to guarantee to BlockFi the loan to FTX that we use to pay out BlockFi itself. How obvious is this, and why in the world, when shit like that is going on in the world, and there were plenty of people much higher pay grade than I that were warning of this, right? Why in God's name are they coming after Dragonchain? Why are they coming after Ripple? Why are they coming after Library? Is it because we're the ones actually building something inside of the U.S.? Is that the threat that they wanted to proudly and violently proclaim to the crypto world, so that we know, okay, I can't actually build anything, or I can't actually build anything in the U.S.? Is that what the deal is? Is that what they want? So you decide. I have no idea, but there's something fucked up about that. And if that shit's going on, and they're coming after us, there's a fucking reason for that. So anyway, that was fun, right? Yeah, look at, my post. They're all snakes. It's all freaking evil stuff. And yeah, intentional or not, might as well be, because all the players that are in there were in the traditional world that would want this stuff killed. So they come in and grab a bunch of money from all of you, and then do with it what they will as they kill all of us. So anyway, there you go. That's the corruption inherent in the system. And next we go to Dragonchain updates. So last week's Super Happy Dragon Lucky lot distribution was 428 lot for the Dragonchain layer itself. There were one question or topic that received 107 lot. There was one featured post that featured 107 lot. The host received 107 lot, and Dragonchain received 107 lot. So the next update for Dragonchain was the status on the migration, because we had announced that we are moving some operations, I guess the infrastructure, and migrating it for various reasons, for security, for uptime and control, for cost, and for ability to more flexibly manage where it is hosted generally. So we have moved a decent number of the systems. There are a few that if I don't have up to the minute info, but there are a few that are still on the old infrastructure, and we're just so you know the process. And I think there's a question in the AMA, so I'll just answer it there. There's still things in transit, and what we're trying to do is do a migration, especially if it's anything major, and then wait a while we focus on other things, and if everything is smooth, then we can move the next thing. So there's not a tight an absolute deadline on any of it. We just want to make sure it's done well and right, and in preparation for us to be able to further manage how we work the future network, and who's running what, and how we're doing various migrations. If you see, also there are a couple of systems that were time window specific, like say contest systems that we might be taking down. There are a couple that were there as an informational page. There might be some that were that will remain for demonstration purposes or history. But either way, everything's still on the blockchain. It is just not going to be publicly available anymore unless you've already saved it. So anyway, there's that. Next, we'll go to Den.social Updates. Sorry, it was a little long. First, the layer creation process, the LCP. The December 2022 LCP proposal phase will start next week on Tuesday morning, I think right before this show. And be ready to make some good proposals. I know some people have had some ideas, even in the recent past on the roundtable show and DENDAO, that it might be worth listening to those and getting together people to propose some of those projects. Also this week on Coffee with Den, there will be no Coffee with Den episode this week because Distant and Gravity Crab have a funeral for an old and mutual friend. So sorry to hear that from about them, but see the post in the Coffee with Den lair for really good discussion topics. In fact, I wanted to answer one of them, haven't had time. There's some really interesting points in there. Coffee with Den will be back next Wednesday, December 7 at 0900 Eastern and 0600 Pacific. Next, the DENDAO call is this Thursday, December 1 at 3 Eastern, 8 p.m. UTC. Watch for the posts in the DENDAO layer for the agenda and a link to join live. Everyone's welcome to join. You don't need to have video. You can just join with audio and at least discuss things more readily than you might be able to reply. Now we'll go to the roundtable update. So World Blockchain Roundtable, watch and share last week's episode, which was on the Sandbox. The more views it gets in its first week, the more lot all the participants will get. Episode 80 will air this Thursday, December 1 at 11 a.m. Eastern and 10 a.m. Central. The topic is IoT, or Internet of Things. So internetizing and retubing various items in the house and stuff like that, sensors. Make sure you go into the post and leave a question or a subject that we can add to the discussion. I do think there are already a couple in there that were pretty good. So go in there and vote up what you want to hear an answer to and add what you think might be missing. That is it for the updates. So we have an AMA right after this.
The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society. And we are as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and secret proceedings. For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed.
All right, here we go. So we refresh the page for the AMAs. And first up, I did, by the way, vote evenly. Around 1,000 matter on every one of these myself. So, okay, let's see here. First up is, darn it. Sorry, I'm trying to look at mine. It just refreshed itself. Okay, so Trogador. Any updates on the NFT game that was mentioned on the Super Happy Dragon Lucky a while back? P.S. Love you too, Joe. You can always come live with me after the SEC ruling. Okay, so first, the NFT game. No updates on it. We've been purposely, if you ask me, distracted by other events. Some good, some bad. Of course, the SEC thing that we have to drain some time on for our effective arguments and procedures and all that crap. Which is unfortunate because we could use that time otherwise to build something meaningful and productive. But anyway, any updates? We've got some very interesting plans together for both the model of how the minting would happen, the model for some of the interesting features about the project, which won't be released until then. But and I assure you, if you believe me for anything, believe me for this. No one's ever done this thing that we're talking about with this project. It's not like it's going to cure cancer or solve hunger in the world, but it maybe the same mechanisms could be useful for that purpose separately, were we ever given any such project. But either way, that it's a very interesting project. It's the one I'm most excited about, and yet we have to keep holding off like a freaking monk from actually attacking it and making it happen because there's just too many other things. But we're getting there, very much getting there. I hope to actually get some code in this week on it. So as to living with you after the SEC ruling, is that because you are holding that much Dragon? Or is it because you would want to let me leave my beautiful lodgings to other use? Either way, point taken, whatever. Jacob Wayne, just curious if you could explain the movement between servers, etc., that have been taking place this month for Dragonchain. I can't remember exactly what was happening, but I remember an announcement about switching hosting or something a bit over my head. So I'd love to hear a short step-by-step breakdown. And then also just watched the last show, and you mentioned the migration. Sorry if you're going to be curious about the technical side. Also, thank you for featuring voting on my Matter Uniswap video post. Great. Keep up the great work, Dragonchain and Den, my friend. Thank you very much, my friend. Let's see here. For technicals, there are certain things that I wouldn't disclose for operational security, normal stuff. Unnecessarily, it would be unnecessary to expose it anyway, but that we are essentially moving part of the infrastructure in order to both, like I said in the top of the episode, reduce costs improve flexibility in the chance that part of the infrastructure would need to be more decentralized. That we have, anybody who knows what we do, we for the purposes of a full description in this discussion, we are a hybrid architecture blockchain, meaning that the payload itself may not be centralized. But the point is that we philosophically believe that the proof of that payload is, number one, the most necessary part of decentralization for our purposes, which is for history, essentially, instead of currency. And that said, it gives extra features. So we're essentially improving scalability with that separation. We're improving the abstraction for the business for that separation, and we are improving the ability to create a measurable proof with that structure, meaning that the business can then either hold, as many do, hold that information tight because it might have customer data, financial data, regulated data, or something that you would not want to expose as a business. And yet, if ever required, which could be a regulatory requirement, legal requirement, you're getting sued, or something that is, maybe more rich that and advanced, that you would be able to provide your customer with proof of their record without exposing that same record to the other customers. And that's many of the potential uses for a business that are very important. And with that the business can also selectively expose that data to the outside world. And so in part of that, many of those businesses sometimes will want to be able to decentralize part of that data a little more standard way. And so that's a long description of one of the primary drivers for me wanting this migration. And a big one is cost. We found a better way to host some of these things that will very much improve our costs. And one way or another, a lot of things, and we're moving, like I said at the beginning, one system or subsystem or component at a time. In some cases, like say, we are not obviously migrating customer systems that are not managed by us, because there are plenty of those. Those will remain wherever they are. But the beauty is that all of the systems that we do manage that are being migrated are being managed in a way that downtime is minimized. In some cases, would be zero or near zero with overlap and extra migration steps. But that all of these systems remain operating, including the verification systems of level 2 through level 5. So anyway, as I note, I think that the level 5s have already been moved. I know that Den has already been moved, and I believe those are publicly known, but the rest is, moving as it is. Hopefully that's enough info. Next, we go to Oxons, which is, sorry, it was a long, thanks. There's a great question, by the way. So Oxons, have any companies contacted Dragonchain about the possibility of building a stable coin in their ecosystem? So yes. So the answer is yes, and our further answer is several. And the further answer details would be, in some cases, we have definitely discussed actual, what I would term as stable coins, legally defined, if that exists, stable coin, something that I would say, they would need to make sure with a lawyer and banker that they're doing everything within the regulations, depending upon where they are. But there are also many cases where, in fact, customers have come in with that assumption, but then we've realized they don't need that. They need essentially a more stable and provable ledger and privacy protected ledger for points in some cases, or balances of money that they are holding. So there's some very interesting things, and I learned a lot in a couple of the cases about the rules and regulations about that around the world. I'm not an expert at it, but I at least know enough to help out the customer with their technical options are numerous in those instances, because there are a lot of things that we can map directly to the legal requirements, where you can prove that you're actually following the legal requirements, and you can prove that there's no fraud happening inside or outside of that system. So pretty beautiful thing in some cases. I think the way that crypto Twitter understands stable coins, we can use stable coins. I think we built a couple of systems where they actually interact with the stable coin contracts outside of Dragonchain, but that one way or another, I'm not that interested in the actual, like say, I wouldn't ever, I don't have any interest in building a stable coin in our ecosystem. So anyway, next, I tell you what, we'll do, wow, we have two more. Let's just do two more. Is that all right? We haven't even hit 30 minutes. Okay, so does Den.social have plans to ever be categorized as a metaverse? That's interesting, because it was either on the last week's World Blockchain Roundtable, or I think more likely the last DENDAO call, that we actually, I don't remember who, someone mentioned an idea. It might have been distant, but it might have been one of you guys, that this idea would potentially have someone in a Minecraft lair. This right distance did donate his ability to host it, to host a Minecraft server, which would allow people in the various layers to come in, and that you could essentially stake out land in that Minecraft world for your lair. It could be fun. It could be really interesting how borders develop, but it would require a lot of people playing it. But it was really good, and we could potentially integrate, if we wanted, especially if we were running our own server, crypto inside that metaverse. And maybe we could do it with Sandbox. I don't know anything about Sandbox, but who knows? So yes, we don't have plans though. Okay. Next, Hyperion frequency, Hype Freak. I know we talked about multi-layer posting. Oh, is this a reply? Okay, I think we probably need an evolution to that sooner rather than later. Okay, do you believe it would be easier if it was one post with multi-layer visibility, or would it be a stacked post? I asked this more in order to look at how the payouts will be measured. Will be a post that is rooted in one layer and visible in others, so people can click on and travel to, even though it's in different layers, or something closer to each layer being calculated in a post, or again calculated as a single entity. I'm just looking for what way developers would make more sense. Okay, so this is a great question. And only 25 minutes old too. So I would say at least the design is, and definitely DENDAO would open if there is a reason that this doesn't hit the goal, that essentially when you first make the post, you can say, okay, yes, I want it to go to cryptocurrency, but I also want to cross post to Bitcoin and Ethereum, so that type of a thing. And what that would do is it would, for one, make it more efficient and clean, where that single piece of content is the thing. And for purposes of your ownership of it, as if it was a token, it's your content sitting in that transaction. And it's only one. You don't have to make three of them, one for each of those layers. that essentially they would be tied together. They would show in all three layers. And I don't think any one of them would be the primary, that they would all just be equal. Because, you might get negative in one because you shouldn't have cross-posted to Ethereum, positive in Bitcoin, positive in cryptocurrency. Let's say that's the case. It would be calculated per each of those as if they were individual posts. It would be put in competition against all of the content in that period, that 24-hour day, and in relation to its consensus, and its market, its the energy applied. So that's the big picture, and then the person be rewarded or detracted from on that post for that entire aggregate amount, right? The next bit to think about is that, because this is important and applies to what you're asking, and might be the reason that I took that tack when I first wrote it up, when I first designed it, that essentially when someone posts, it was just very typical, I'm going to post this to cryptocurrency, and let's say it has a huge content surrounding Bitcoin, maybe a teeny bit talking about Ethereum, maybe I should have mentioned, right? So I come in and I say, maybe I'm a maybe I'm a Bitcoin lair person. That's, I either own a lot of it or I'm very active there. I say this post should be over there. And the whole purpose of this is to then make it possible to monetize that action, to basically affect the behavior of people, to pull it into the layers that it should go into with a click. Instead, instead of permission, repost, whatever else it would be, or even worse, where I copy it and pull it over here. Instead, it makes it very simple for me to say, hey, this should be in the Bitcoin layer. So I click to add a cross post. It pops up. I can point it to the Bitcoin layer, right? There's even some design consideration of layer DAO specific configurations that would say similar layers, so that maybe in the cryptocurrency layer, the Bitcoin, the Dragonchain, the Ethereum layers are set, so they would be kind of the top choices, so you don't have to navigate through 100 layers. That's just a detail. That when I select those layers, essentially I'm locked in as being the cross poster, which means in the cases of a negative cross post, like say I post it to Creature Comforts, right? It's not a recipe. It gets downvoted to hell. And I, the cross poster, lose in that. I have a negative on my my output for that day in this for this purpose. I might be spamming layers that way, so I get negatives. But if I push it into a positive, then I get, and I don't remember if we've ever had an actual declared design configuration for this, but let's say 10%, or maybe it's a quarter, maybe it's 25%, but it's something between 5 and 25% of the positive energy activity, positive energy market matter generation will go to me, the cross poster. So I have a definite value in making sure that this content is in the right communities. And it also gives extra purpose to the original poster. If they put it in those layers, they are going to get credit for that, right? So they have a purpose then, so they don't have to compete against someone else cross-posting it. And at the same time, if you're going to be lazy, I'm going to post it in a cryptocurrency, and I'll get whatever. If it fits in something about dining, buying beer with crypto or something, maybe it does get posted to Creature Comforts, but I'm not going to have to think through it. But I get the lion's share of the activity on that. So that's what a cross post is. And we really need it, it would be amazing. So, but yeah, you think of them all as individual posts, but with the fact that there might be a subordinate content provider, which, the original poster, and then if there is a cross poster other than the original poster, that's how the rewards will be split up for that content. Anyway, there you go. That was a long answer, but that was the last question. It was an amazing, great question. So now I'm going to cut over to, let's see here, updates at the end. There is no featured content this week. You guys can do better. I'm joking. And in merch, we have the new series, We Believed Sam and Morte ad Numerum Ascender. Number go up is dead. All of this merch in this series is a simple $1 over the cost. So no coupon code needed. Go in there, share it, and give it. It's a great Thanksgiving gift for the people that you told to invest in FTT, right? So anyway, Christmas, holidays. Okay, so and in closing, watch Super Happy Dragon Lucky next Tuesday. Watch World Blockchain Roundtable on Thursday at noon. What is it? 11 Eastern? Is that right? No, geez. Sorry, I'm waiting the update. Thursday at noon Eastern, 9 Pacific. That's right. No, it was. I have the last episodes in here. Yeah, okay. Watch World Blockchain Roundtable Thursday at 11 Eastern, 8 Pacific. Follow Dragonchain, Real Denizens, and Jojo Row, and like, comment, and share. That's everything. Thanks so much, guys.
Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best. Adaptable, all capital, label radical yet rational. A tactical approach is palpable if this animal is fallible, but that conclusion is laughable. So with for all detachable from the mandible, you see it now.